Hello, I'm Gavin Horgan, Headmaster of Millfield School in Somerset, the largest co-educational boarding school in the UK. Welcome to the Millfield Way Podcast. Here, you'll hear from teachers, coaches and students from Millfield and Millfield Prep School. Millfield is traditionally different, and this is the Millfield Way.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Millfield Way Podcast. My name's Liz Webb and today we are talking all about football at Millfield, and I'm delighted to be joined by Head of Football, Tony McCallum. Hi Tony.
Hi Liz, thanks for having me along.
Now, you joined Millfield in 2022 in the role of Head of Sports Coaching before taking up the role of Head of Football in September 2024. So what has the start of this year been like for you so far?
Very busy. I think from day one I didn't probably appreciate how operational and how active we are as a programme from the start. It's been great fun. The staff have been excellent, the players have been excellent. It's been a challenge. I think different things that we face, whether that's the logistics of how much training we have to accommodate, the amount of fixtures we're involved in, various cup competitions that we play in as a school across different sectors, but very exciting as well. So it's been a great first term.
And I'd like to ask, if I may, a little bit about your background before you worked at Millfield. What type of thing did you do before, and are there any significant players or figures within football that you've worked with in the past?
I suppose if I go right back, I left school, went into engineering and joined the Air Force. It was my first piece of work, I suppose, and probably in the Air Force is where I got an enthusiasm for coaching, because I think for the first time I worked in a situation where I was being coached on a regular basis by qualified coaches, and that sort of started to give me an interest into how the sport was delivered and what the role of the coach was. And when I left the Air Force, I made a decision to sort of start to pursue a coaching career. So I worked in various situations. I worked in sort of youth football majority of the time. Worked in the professional game. I was a coach at Southampton a few years ago now. Worked in the collegiate level, so sort of 16 to 18 years has probably been the crux of my work across the opportunities, and then a little bit of work in the sort of non-league adult game. So I've got a bit of a breadth of I suppose various different levels of the game that I've been involved in.
Fantastic. And when you're not in school, which probably isn't very often in a school like Millfield, what are your interests outside of school?
I love cooking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I do. I like to cook. I have time with the family. Got two young granddaughters who occupy our time. I love to visit places, whether that's places within the UK or overseas. So travel's really important to us to get that time away. I love my golf, so I try and get out and play, and then I watch Newcastle United, so that's my other thing. Okay,
well, on that note, in your role as Head of Football, what does that involve, and what do you end up doing on a day-to-day basis here?
I mean, football is a pretty big department on its own as part of the sports department, so we have 7 full-time staff working in there. And we're working with the best part of 300 students on a regular basis, so it's a pretty busy department. There's a lot of management of the whole programme, of the staff, of the individuals. There's relationship type stuff with players and with parents, external stakeholders that we're involved with. I think people like yourself with marketing and finance, take up time because there's always something that we need to be considering as leading a department. And we're starting to branch into areas like trying to establish an OM football society. We're doing stuff with external clubs in terms of festivals and such like. So there's always something to do within the programme.
And what would you say your coaching philosophy is, and has your coaching methods changed over the years? I mean, here at Millfield, 300 boys and girls participating in football makes that our biggest participation sport in the school, which is a change in recent years. I think swimming and rugby were kind of up there, but football's really taken off. So do you think your coaching philosophy has changed over the years and how you coach?
I think when you probably start out as a novice coach, you do lack experience and knowledge and understanding. I think over the years I've probably developed that further. I go back to a time when I was a young boy playing at school, and a school teacher gave me a chance to play for the school team. And I think I've probably brought something from what that experience looked like. That teacher just provided a great environment for people to learn. He trusted people to play for the school team, and I've probably borrowed some of that in terms of my thinking. So I like to provide a safe and challenging environment for the players. I want to try and encourage development. It isn't about results for us. I think sometimes we get caught up with score lines, but actually if we're true to our words around development, we'll look at the additions of their performances time on time as the piece we go after. And then and probably something about how we try and play the game. We like to look after the ball as a I suppose an umbrella type statement for the sport. So we like to be good in possession, and if we haven't got the ball, we like to work hard to try and win it back. I think football's changed over the years, and certainly with coming to Millfield, where you have a real cross section of people's experiences, not only in this country but across the world. It's trying to factor all that into maybe how we need to make sure football accommodates and meets the needs of all. So that's probably the approach we're going after.
And I think our listeners are really going to want to know all about the programme that we have here and the facilities for our football players. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think we are really blessed with some fantastic facilities. Our main football site is off campus, about a 10-minute drive from here. Fantastic setting. We have 9 full-size pitches. We have 6 designated training areas, which gives us, lots of opportunity for the players to develop themselves, whether that's in games or in training. And then on site we have multiple areas where we can train here, but we can also access fantastic strength and conditioning facilities. We have a pool where we can do recovery sessions. We have teaching facilities for analysis and for workshops around nutrition and diet and sports performance. So we are a bit blessed with what we have here.
And how do the programmes work for both boys and girls? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we are single age group through the junior teams, so that's under 14s, under 15s, under 16s, and then we are a 2 age group in the under 18s in the senior school. And I think across all of those programmes we have real depth and breadth. So we have multiple teams in some of the age groups. The under 14s, I think we have at least 4 teams this year with under 14s boys. We have 1 team in the under 14s girls. And then similarly in the seniors, we have 2 teams in the senior girls. We have 5 teams in the senior boys. So the depth that we offer is really interesting with, I think, people's perception of what Millfield is sometimes. The programmes differ. Those who are more intentional, they get probably 6 sessions a week with us, and that will include strength and condition as well as football training and fixtures. And then those who are more recreational in their nature, who just want to find time to play with their friends, probably 3 sessions a week is the norm for them. So we do accommodate for a real varied group in the football offer.
Fantastic. And you've already talked a bit about levels and ability there. What sessions are available for students of various levels?
So we would have practical coaching sessions 3 times a week, and some of those we would take up with fixtures. Sometimes we will play internal fixtures against each other, and that might be the same age groups, or it might be a younger age group playing up against an older age group, but a different ability level. The S&C sessions that we do, so that's all around sort of the gym work. That'll be tailored to the individual, so from a process of a sort of baseline assessment, we know where the player is, and then we know what we can try and work on, and the athletic development staff work with the individuals on that, and that could be 2 sessions a week for most of the intentional students in the game.
And this year we've had scouts visit from various professional clubs around the UK. Can you tell us which clubs have visited and the relationship we have with those clubs?
Yeah, I think the way that I suppose football in this country looks at identifying talent, they have scouts from multiple clubs in the region. So not only do we have our local clubs, the likes of Bristol City, Exeter, Plymouth Argyle, but we also get scouts from further afield now. So at recent fixtures we've had Man City, Arsenal, Newcastle, all come down to look at different age group players, and I think that's a really healthy thing for us, that the level of football that we provide here makes people interested in it, and therefore they come to watch.
Fantastic. And so how does Millfield differ from the academy system? So I think if we've got some really serious footballers listening to this to see and trying to make a decision about what route they should take in their journey, how do we differ from an academy, and what has been the typical route for young players looking to progress into top level football? And what would be the advantage of them actually coming through a school system rather than that academy system?
I think the way the boys' opportunities are constructed, the football clubs have a licence to deliver a football academy programme, and that's categorised from Category 1 to Category 4. And it's based around investment, facilities, workforce and opportunities for the players. And that could be training sessions and fixtures. We as a school, I think we provide a real holistic opportunity. I think the fact that we see the students in a boarding setting, so we see them pastorally, we see them in an academic setting, we see them in sport, helps us to develop them as a person as well as a performer. And I think sometimes in the professional club settings, they don't get access to all of that all of the time. So I think we do have some benefits of being at somewhere like Millfield. We do have students that come from various parts of the world who have been involved in various youth development offers. And so I think what we're trying to do here is create something which looks and feels similar to maybe what a professional setting could look like, but understand that we're not that level, if you want, in terms of consistency of offer. But what we do have is a workforce, a facility and a programme that really does help people develop, and we align that alongside their education. I think for me it is one of the best opportunities that's around.
And I imagine in this industry, to actually make it as a professional top flight footballer, the chances are pretty slim, with the amount of children aiming for that goal in their life. So do you feel that actually going through a school setting gives them that kind of plan B if it doesn't work out?
I think it's always that, isn't it? How long could a potential career be? And if somebody does make it and they come to the end of that career, what do they do next? I think the great thing that we've got is the fact that we're trying to ensure that they can develop within their sport, but at the same time they're backed up by an academic opportunity which puts them in a position, should things not necessarily work out in a way that they might hope for, they have got something that they can utilise then to go on to further things. We do have a number of students who really do excel in their sport, but they consider university as their next step. And I think with football, there are a lot of decisions made, not necessarily early, so that they're now waiting longer to look at when players sign. And if that's the case, then people who have gone on to college and university in the US or in the UK still have an opportunity to try and progress into the professional game in some way, shape or form.
And so what pathways are available to students into top level football after leaving Millfield? What have you seen particular routes that students take or particular successes?
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years we've had some recognised successes for a couple of students. So one of our female players signed with Bristol City, who are now in the Women's Championship, but previously we were in the Women's Premier League. We've had two boys signed professionally with Ipswich Town and Wolverhampton Wanderers, which is fantastic for them. At the same time, they followed their education and left here with good A-level qualifications at the same time. And then we've had a couple of students who've gone off to university in the US and in the UK to really good universities where they're continuing to develop in their football, but they're also studying for potential careers elsewhere, but still managing to develop in their game.
So if you had to kind of sum all of that up, what makes Millfield's football offering unique in comparison to other schools?
I think it's the amount of time and opportunity that we can provide. So we can deliver opportunities for them to train at various times throughout the day. We manage an academic programme alongside that, so sport doesn't impact on the academic studies. It's blended within it. I think the fact that we have a coaching workforce like we do, not only the footballing side of things, but also the other specialists that we draw upon, the athletic development staff, the video analysis staff, that's great in terms of a workforce. I think the level of competition that we play in, whether that's within the school sector or further afield when we play against various academy programmes, that gives us a level of stretch and challenge for our players. And I think that the connections that we have to the game, whether that's into college in this country and university, whether that's to the US or whether that's into the professional game, I think we do have some real attributes as a programme that sets us aside.
Fantastic. And so we're talking about competition. What competitions do the school enter for football? And can students represent Millfield against teams outside of the independent school sector as well?
Yeah, so there's two sort of governing bodies of football in schools in England. One's called the English Schools FA and the other one is the Independent Schools FA. So we enter both competitions for all of our teams. So I think this season we're involved in 22 different cups across the different age groups. So that provides a level of schools competition. We also work with a local club, street football club, and represent them with an under-18s team. So we also get a level of regular competition for our senior boys in the sort of county and regional sort of league that exists. And then we also play in a series of fixtures against other independent schools, which are traditional and should continue. And then we also play against different football academies for the boys' game. Not so much for the girls at the moment, but we're looking to do some of that work with Bristol City and some of the other clubs. But it's definitely a level of competition, I think, which is right and proper for the different groups.
Has there been any significant recent individual, student or team successes?
I think the 3 students who've gone to the professional game over the last couple of years is really good for them and for the school. So that was to Wolverhampton Wanderers, Ipswich Town and Bristol City. In terms of competitions that we've won recently, the under-18s boys team, second team, they won the National Cup last year, and that was a first for the school. So it was good to see that there's a level of football, if you want, even in our second team, which allows us to compete on a national level. Yes, so we've had 3 players go to the professional game over the last couple of seasons. Maya Kendall to Bristol City, Arthur Nasta to Wolverhampton Wanderers, and Charlie Binns to Ipswich Town, which have been great successes for the school.
And so you've talked a bit about girls' football here alongside boys' football as well, and the girls' game has seen a lot of popularity in the last few years. What do we offer for girls particularly?
I think just the numbers that are starting to come to school now who are more intentional footballers from the offset is really interesting. We try and provide a real programme that allows everybody who's at school a chance to train and compete. We do have some girls who are beyond the school, if you want, in terms of their levels of ability. So we do tap into the England Emerging Talents pathway. So that allows some of our players to go to Bristol City and to Somerset, to the Emerging Talent Centres. We provide a level of fixture for the girls against independent schools. So we're in competitions with 5 or 6 independent schools around the country as part of a new league to support sort of the development of the girls' game. And then we're involved in various cup competitions on a regional level and county level that provides under 14, under 16 and under 18 cups.
And I believe we have a dedicated girls' football coach, is that correct?
Yeah, we have 2 full-time staff working in the girls' side of things. So we have a lead coach and then one of our graduate staff who is still playing in the women's game is also full-time. So 2 staff dedicated to the support of the girls' game.
Excellent. And do we work closely with Millfield Prep School? Because obviously a lot of our children do go to the prep school first and may move up into year 9 here. How do we work with them?
Yeah, so we have a dedicated member of staff. So we have a lead coach for our junior section, which is the year 9 to year 11 boys, and one of our staff regularly, probably once a week, is down at the prep school to support the opportunity down there, and then we link in with them with some training opportunities for the year 8 boys to come up to here. And similarly with some of the year 8 girls who are now playing in our under 14s team, so they come up and spend time at the school and train alongside teammates in the senior school.
Millfield is really well known for sport nationally and internationally, but first and foremost we are a school and academics is therefore front and centre of everything we do. How does your team in football work with the academic and pastoral staff in terms of managing the athletes' holistic programme and knowing what else they've got going on?
I think one of the things that the head talks about is that we need to know the students as individuals. And so from a sports perspective, we get to know them in that setting, but we need to ensure that we link with the pastoral teams, their house parents, their group tutors, and then also with the academic staff who are supporting them through their education. So we have regular contacts. We will speak to staff individually, or we'll go into meetings and sort of give people updates as to where we think students are at. We also recognise that there's a demand on their education, and if things do start to need more support from an academic perspective, then we're the first to sort of look to adjust training opportunities to ensure that we can let the student perform academically as well. And then we also make sure that what we don't do is impact on their study time. So prep work after school is really important, so we look to make sure that training sessions are finished in time. And similarly, if we are involved in fixtures, we try and ensure that what we don't do is disrupt the academic side of things as too often. Sometimes we can't help that when a fixture needs to be played and there's a deadline. But generally, we will make sure that what we get is a balance of education and sport, and work with the pastoral and the education academic team as often as we can.
And it's really clear from everything you said that we've got a significant and successful, thriving football programme here. Do you have any plans over the next few years as to what you would like to develop the programme into further?
I think some of the stuff that the programme has been doing over the last few years is starting to come to fruition now. So I think we have an invitational tournament where we bring... I think this year we had 5 different academy programmes came to play against us as a school. So that's something that we want to try and establish, is a Millfield Invitational tournament every October. I think we're starting to provide more training sites for professional clubs for their pre-season for their different youth teams, and that might give us a chance to be able to play additional fixtures against them. So that's something else we're starting to look into. The relationships we have with the professional clubs, there's only one professional women's team in the region, but we're getting a far better level of understanding between what we can offer and what they do. So therefore, the relationships with people like Bristol City is really important. We are looking to try and have an effective trips and tours programme going forward. What do we look to try and expose our players to beyond Millfield? So if we're going to take a tour overseas, what's the reasons for it? Where do we go? What sort of things do we want to try and achieve? Is it a competition that we want to play in, or is it training and playing experience and a visit to a country that maybe the students have never been to before, that we can look to try and add to the Millfield experience? And probably the one that we're trying to establish from later this term is an OM football society. So there is an OM rugby and OM hockey, and we're trying to make sure that OM football starts to have an opportunity and becomes an established branch going forward.
Fantastic. And so you talked through a lot of things there, loads of useful information for anyone thinking about coming to Millfield, particularly for football. If you wanted people to remember just 3 things about what you've talked about, what would those 3 things be?
I think I'd ask people to see our opportunity as part of someone's development, and that's for everybody, whether they're here and they just want to have a kickabout with friends, or they are more intentional that about their football, that they see that as part of their development. I think you need to trust us that we'll help develop them as people as well as football players, because that's the important piece, that they leave here as a whole more rounded person that can move on to whatever in the future. And probably the third one is don't be too concerned with the scoreline. The scoreline is a product, if you want, of the opportunity, and we're very much around trying to develop them and their performance over time.
Fantastic. Tony, thank you so much for your time today. It's been really interesting learning about the football programme and how it has developed. I hope you enjoyed this Millfield Way podcast in conversation with Tony McCallum. Thank you and goodbye.